Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you have been attending these sessions. Some of you you are attending for the first time. So it doesn't really matter. You don't need to have this is not in a series. It's not that if you have not attended the earlier sessions, you will not understand the current one. Nothing like this. I would also like to reiterate that these sessions are not supposed to be substitute for your classes. These are just if you are this will just serve the purpose of helping you reach that 40 plus or 41 plus verbal level, that to touch that 95-99 percentile in your verbal level. So the basics, of course, for that your if you are a classroom student, your classes are there for that. If you're an online student, your videos are there for that. So these are not supposed to be substitutes for the regular classes. So having said that, even if you have not attended any classes, even if you have not attended anything, it would still, I'm sure you will still learn something today, right? Anybody here who is not, who has not done their classes or who have not completed their course? Anyone here? Anyone who is just starting out? So Sairam, so you have to be you may not get the full benefit out of it, because we will move quite fast, because these sessions are supposed to be advanced sessions. So we will move a little fast, but try to keep up. And if you are starting your classes, then in the classes, a lot of the basics will get covered. Right. So today we'll be doing reading comprehension. Today is the first session of reading comprehension. This is our first reading comprehension session. Students, they are scared of sentence correction. They are little confident about reading critical reasoning. Reading comprehension they do not pay much attention to. And finally, what happens is that the accuracy, students' accuracy is actually poorest in RC. We have all of you know that we have tests in Jamboree. We have an online testing platform. So when we look at the data, so our students, their accuracy is the poorest in reading comprehension. It's not that reading comprehension is tough or easy. It's just that it needs some little bit of active reading. So today we'll focus a lot on how to read the passage. How to not just read mechanically, but how to take pointers, how to make an outline, so that while solving questions you will not get that stuck. So Mangesh, you are asking if you are covering OG passages. So it's not that we are not covering any kind of passages. We are just we'll be discussing strategies. So the passages that I will be picking up can be from anywhere, right? The objective is not to solve a particular passage or to solve a particular question. The objective of this session is to give you tools with which you can actually improve your accuracy in all types of RCs. And don't worry about taking notes, so we record these sessions, and these sessions are available on Jamboree's YouTube channel. Some of you probably have seen those. If not, then Jamboree has a YouTube channel, and then the recordings will be uploaded there. So don't worry about taking notes. Just listen, just pay attention. Whenever I ask you questions, participate. Okay. With that, just wanted to cover some basics. So reading comprehension usually has a passage. A lot of students worry about the type of passage. Is it going to be a history passage? Is it going to be a science passage? Or is it going to be a business passage? My recommendation is that don't worry about it. Don't even think that what type of passages can come in the GMAT, because irrespective of the topic of the passage, you have to attempt it, and you have to get the questions correct. So I don't understand why you should be worried about what type of passages come in the GMAT. And you cannot, no matter how much you read, or no matter what kind of newspapers you read or books you read, that is not training for GMAT reading comprehension. GMAT reading comprehension is different from reading a novel. No matter how fast you read, some of you are very fast readers, so it has nothing to do with speed reading as well. A lot of people will tell you that you need to develop speed, blah blah blah. This is not like that. GMAT reading comprehension passages, they have a certain format. They are looking for certain things. They have a certain flow. You have to make notes here and there. So that's about it. Even if you are a very pathetic reader, even if you're reading, your vocab is not strong, you will still have quite a high accuracy in RC, in GMAT RC, if you just follow the strategies. So and vice versa, if you are a very fast reader, if you have very strong hold of vocabulary, still it's not that you are going to have some added advantage, because you have to know how to solve GMAT RC, not random reading stuff. Now some rules, while reading passages, in RC, the information that you have to stick to is the information given in the passage. Don't bring in your own general knowledge, right? So if the passage says that the earth has 5 moons, so okay, the earth has 5 moons, you don't have to argue that, oh well, but it has only 1 moon, so maybe this is the correct answer. So please don't bring in your general knowledge, while solving reading comprehension passages. Surprisingly, the passages which deal with in economics or business language, those are the passages where most students go wrong, purely because they try to bring in their own general knowledge. So keep your general knowledge out of the equation. Focus only on the passage that is given. That's one golden rule. You may think right now that is silly, but it's like it will actually cost you points if you don't focus on that. Second is, do not trust your memory. You may have a great memory, but when you are reading the passage and when you are solving questions, you have to come back to the passage to verify. Do not trust your memory. On the exam day, your memory will start playing tricks on you. You will be tired, you will be nervous, right? So, and you will get 3 to 5 reading comprehension passages in your exam. So don't worry about, don't trust your memory. Read the passage for the first time properly, take notes, and then whenever you get a question, just come back. And I will also show you how to take notes. A lot of people write detailed notes, but that's a waste of time. Today we'll mainly focus on how to read a passage, how to take notes, what kind of keywords you need to focus on, how it can help you solve the questions, right? So I will when I started out today, I am hoping to solve 2 passages completely, but I would go slow. I would give you time to solve, so we may not be able to solve 2 passages completely, but that's okay. Just the focus should be on learning, right? There's also one more thing, I don't know whether you guys know or not. Let's say there's this passage, okay, and let's say there are 5 questions associated with it, right? 1, 2, like 5 questions. So let's say the question number 2 is about this portion of the passage. Question number 3 is about this portion of the passage. So it's very unlikely that the question number 4 will be from this portion, right? Or this portion, right? Most probably the question number 4 will be from something after question number 3. So GMAT has this, like what you can say, they have this trend, that the questions, they usually come in order. There may also be a question like number 5 can be something that is covered throughout. It can be an inference type of question. But if you have questions starting with according to the passage or as given in the passage, that means the answer is given in the passage. So in these type of questions, the questions are usually come in order. So if question number 2 is an according to the passage type of question and the answer can be found here, and if question number 3 is also an according to the passage kind of question, then that 3, it's very unlikely that the answer to 3 will come somewhere here, right? Understood? Everybody understood? So keep that in mind. And this applies only to according to the passage type of questions. Okay, now coming to questions, what are the different types of questions? One, very simple, according to the passage, right? You will get according to the passage. Very simple, the answer is given in the passage. You don't have to use your brain at all. You just have to find the right location, etc., etc. Then there is the primary purpose, right? Where your understanding of the passage is required, right? So the answer is not going to be directly given in the passage. You have to read the passage and you have to ask yourself, why did the author write this passage? What was his objective? That is the primary purpose, right? That is the primary purpose of the passage. Then there are inference questions, where the information will be given in the passage, yes, but you have to extrapolate a bit to get to the answer. Now again, you don't have to bring your general knowledge here, by the way, but based on the information given in the passage, you have to do some extrapolation, you have to do some reading between the lines to get to the answer. So these are little difficult. These are little difficult. Primary purpose, still there are techniques to get to the correct answer. This is the easiest type of questions. So if RC, if RC is your weak point, if you're not strong in RC, if you're very nervous about RC, what you should do is that try to get at least these two categories of questions 100% correct. So when you are keeping a note of your accuracy levels in RC, please keep it based on the types of question. Don't keep a record of purely that my accuracy in RC is 60%. So I cannot help you with that kind of an answer, right? So you have to keep a record that according to the passage type of questions, how many you are, what's your accuracy percentage in that category questions. In primary purpose, what's your accuracy rate, and then you can attack the problem more directly. So if your accuracy is pretty low in the according to the passage type of questions, then you need to, that means you are not reading the passage properly. That means you are making silly mistakes. So those are easy problems to fix. So according to the passage, or as mentioned in the passage type of questions, where the answer is directly in the passage, you should be targeting at least an 80% accuracy. That this should be your target, right? Because the accuracy may be low, it can be still lower, but at least this category you should be targeting 80%. So break down your accuracies according to the types of questions. Now another thing I'm going to talk about are the answer options, right? A lot, you hear a lot about the types of questions, but the key actually, some of the most important keys lie in the answer options, right? So answer options, for instance, in primary purpose, any answer option that is talking about an example, some example that the author has given in the past, that you can eliminate. In RC, the technique that you have to use is process of elimination, right? So you have to find reasons to eliminate answers. In fact, the way we teach in Jamboree, some of you who have attended our SC sessions and CR sessions, you know that our focus is on elimination. It's far more difficult to find the correct answer. Eliminating an answer is easier to do. For an answer to be wrong, only one word needs to be wrong. So that's why the technique we teach is process of elimination. So in primary purpose question, anything that is talking about only an example, right? So that is definitely going to be a wrong answer. You can eliminate that. Maybe let's say in a passage, the passage is talking about two different techniques or two different theories, and there's an answer option talking about only one of them. Only one of the given techniques, theories, hypotheses, etc., etc. So that is also wrong because it is not covering both. So these are things that you need to keep in mind. This will help you eliminate, and that's how you will be able to get your primary purpose questions correctly. We'll do a couple of primary purpose questions today so that you know what I'm talking about, right? Now, according to the passage, location is the key, right? So if a question is asking, if the question is about according to the passage blah blah blah, and within this passage whatever is mentioned in the question is found here, right? So any answer option that is being discussed here is out, right? Any answer option that is being discussed here is out, right? So your answer needs to be this location. So location based elimination, you need not even read thoroughly. Any answer option that is not in the right location, it can be eliminated blindly. So if you follow these techniques, you will be able to increase your accuracy, yes, and you will be able to get the questions correct in far lesser time. Anybody has any questions? Did you understand these things? Yes, no? Okay, so now in inference questions, as I said, this is a little difficult, right? This is a little difficult category of question. So in inference question, there can be two types of questions. One, it will say what can be inferred from the passage. That means the answer will lie throughout. It has to do the entire passage. Then there can be like, as inferred from blah blah blah, some specific location. So inference can be two types. One where it will deal with the entire passage. This is a tougher type of inference question. One which will deal with the entire passage, and one category which will deal with some location. So this type, you treat it like a location based question, right? Read that location and the answer, and then information that is coming below that location or above that location, it can be eliminated easily. This is the most difficult type of question, which is an inference question, where the information lies all over the place. It has to do with the entire passage. So inference also you can break down, and then you can attack each type of questions accordingly. If you follow this strategy, then your instead of trying to get all questions correct and equal attention, you can actually try to get the easier ones correct for sure. Then even if you miss out one of the difficult ones, your accuracy remains high, right? So primary purpose, okay, Arnav, you want me to repeat. So what I told you is that in primary purpose, any answer option which talks about only an example. Let's say in the passage the author gave 3 examples, and one of the answer options says that it's like it has to deal with only one of the examples or 2 of the examples, so you can eliminate it. An example can never be the answer to a primary purpose question. The author did not write the objective of the author while writing the passage was not to give the example. Like, let's understand that. So examples, answer options dealing with examples can be directly eliminated. Next is that if the passage is a scientific passage or some anthropological or sociological passage where the author is talking about 2 or 3 theories or 2 or 3 technologies or methods, blah blah blah, and there is an answer option which talks about only one of them, not all the 3, right? Only one of them, specifically about one of them, that also can be eliminated. Understood? Arnav, is that clear? Okay. So with that in mind, we'll go directly to the passages now. Everybody can see this. It's a little blurry, but can you still read it? Don't read the question now, okay? You can enhance the resolution of your screen. GMAT passages is very difficult to put in one screen. So, and I have intentionally picked longer passages. So just increase your screen resolution. That might help. Don't read the question now, okay? Just read the passage, and I will read with you. 2 divergent definitions. Remember, I told you that while reading, you have to keep an eye on the keywords. Now, the word divergent. What do you mean by divergent? That means they are going 2 different ways. That means they don't agree. There is a difference in opinion. Everybody agrees? So the passage is going to talk about now some type of controversy, right? That there are going to be 2. We also know that there are going to be 2. There are 2 definitions, right? So now let's read first. So keep your mind now ready, okay? 2 divergent definitions have dominated sociologists' discussions of the nature of ethnicity, okay? So the passage is going to talk about nature of ethnicity. So the it is going to be around ethnicity. So you have some idea about okay, what is the objective of the passage. Then read further. The first of the 2, so the first definition, right? The first definition, emphasizes the primordial and unchanging character of ethnicity. So unchanging character. So the first is talking about that the ethnicity cannot be changed. The character of ethnicity cannot be changed. In this view, so in which view? The first view. In this view, people have an essential need for belonging that is satisfied by membership in groups based on shared ancestry and culture, right? So this is the first of the 2 definition. This is the first definition. So in your notes, you should write L2 to 5. You need not even write L, just write a 2 to 5. First, first def, right? That's enough. That's enough. Now don't try to take more notes, right? Then we say are different. Of course we have the beginning word was divergent. Now we have different. So that means that the second is starting. The different conception of ethnicity de-emphasizes the cultural component. De-emphasize means the first one emphasizes on the cultural thing, right? That it is, it comes from the basic need for belonging, etc., etc. The second, we already know that it is divergent, so it is going opposite of it. It de-emphasizes the cultural component and defines ethnic groups as interest groups. The first type of definition is talking about, like shared ancestry, culture, blah blah blah. Second definition is saying that it's like more like an interest group, nothing to do with his ancestry or culture. In this view, ethnicity serves as a way of mobilizing a certain population behind issues related to economic position, right? So the second definition, so here your now 6, right? Line 6 to 10, second definition. You can write this, second definition. So where it is talking that it is more of interest group. First thing is saying it has to do with ancestry. Second, it's saying that it has to do with interest group. And that people come together and they form groups to like support issues related to economic position, right? You can also write second. You can just write economics. Just short form economics. The first one you can write ancestry or something to do with culture. Just some short forms. Now, while both of these, while is a contrast word. So we know the moment we see the word while, we know that something, a third thing is coming out, right? While both of these definitions are useful, neither fully captures the dynamic and changing aspects of ethnicity in the US, right? Rather, another, another contrast word. Rather, ethnicity is more satisfactorily conceived. Now, this is the author is saying. Now, but because of this portion, we know that the author does not agree with either definition. The author does not agree with these two divergent definitions. He is giving his own definition. It says that he says that ethnicity is more satisfactorily conceived. So he's saying that it's more satisfactorily. The other two definitions more than that. This his own definition more satisfactorily satisfies the definition of ethnicity. So he says ethnicity is more satisfactorily conceived of as a process in which pre-existing communal bonds, so communal bonds are already there, pre-existing communal bonds and common cultural attributes, so it has some portion of the first definition, by the way, right, are adapted for instrumental purposes according to changing real life situations. So what the author feels, according to him, that it's a there has to be some pre-existing communal bonds, of course, but so that leads to people coming together and adapting for instrumental purposes to according to changing real life situations. Second definition talked about only economics, right? He's saying that real life situations can be anything. It can be related to economics or politics, or it can be related to anything and everything, right? So this is your first paragraph. So in the first paragraph, the author said that there are two divergent definitions of ethnicity, given by sociologists. Both of them are given by sociologists. So he first presented those. Then he found a flaw with it. He said, well, I don't quite agree with both of these. So according to me, this is what it is, right? So that is that was the objective, and that was the first paragraph. Then he says one example of this process. What process? This process. Whatever the author said, look out for these words. One example of this. Whenever you say, whenever you get this kind of thing, you have to remember that if something is getting carried over from the previous sentence or previous paragraph. So one example of this process. Now author is giving some example of his own definition, by the way, right? Now it is coming to his own definition. Of this process is the rise of participation of Native American. Now this is an example. So we know that if there is a primary purpose question, so anything that will talk about only Native American is going to be wrong, right? Just keep that in mind. One example of this process is the rise of participation by Native American people in the broader US political system since the civil rights movement of 1960s. Besides leading Native Americans to participate more actively in politics, so this is a the number of Native American legislative office holders more than doubled. So he is giving an example also what he means by more actively. So he has given proof of that also. Okay, this movement, which movement? The civil rights movement. Okay, this movement also evoked increased interest in tribal history and traditional culture. So I think that civil rights movement is talking about that, that where the Native American people who are like, they have a pre-existing, communal bond, obviously. So they came together for the civil rights movement, which did multiple things. They increased the activity, more activity in politics, plus it also increased interest in tribal history and traditional culture. So culture, politics, all of these things are getting improved, not just economics, right? Okay, culture and instrumental components of ethnicity are not mutually exclusive, right? But rather reinforce one another. So he's saying that, well, this just proves that that culture and other important things, instrumental purposes. Instrumental purposes means that things important things that affect day-to-day life, right? So he said cultural and instrumental components are not mutually exclusive, so they affect one another. So that's what he's using the entire the Native American example is used to prove this point, right? Okay, now the third paragraph. The civil rights movement also brought, he's talking about the same civil rights movement, also brought changes in the uses to which ethnicity was put by Mexican American people. The first example was how the Native American people used, how they use the civil rights movement. Second is like how the civil rights movements help the Mexican American, that is also a type of ethnicity, right? In the 1960s, right? This was also, first example was also 1960s, the second is also 1960s. In the 1960s, Mexican Americans formed community-based political groups, right? So they are forming now political groups that emphasize ancestral heritage as a way of mobilizing constituents. Constituents have to do with election and voting, etc. So what they are saying is that what he is giving the example to show is that the civil rights movements, Mexican American, they used it to mobilize constituents. Such emerging issues as immigration and voting rights gave Mexican American advocacy groups the means by which to promote ethnic solidarity. Okay, like now they're comparing. Till now we are talking about Mexican American, Native American. Now he's giving a third thing, like European ethnic groups in the 19th century. So this was like 1960s. 1960s is like a 20th century. So now he's comparing European ethnic groups in the 19th century, right? Late 20th century Mexican American leaders combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols. So now this is one thing that we know about European ethnic groups. European ethnic groups, what they did, they combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols. Right? So the Native American, they use the civil rights for actively involving in politics. They also used to increase interest in tribal history and traditional culture. Mexican American, they use it primarily for voting rights and blah blah blah, mobilizing constituents. Again, things of political nature. Then European ethnic groups, they did what they did. They combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols. In 1968, Henry, H.C. This is another tip. Whenever you come up with some stuff in the reading comprehension passage that you don't worry about pronouncing it. Just read it at H.C. In 1968, H.C., then mayor of San Antonio, called Mexican leader B.J. as a model of Mexican American. Model for Mexican Americans in their fight for contemporary civil rights. We are continuing with civil rights only, okay? And everywhere Mexican Americans celebrate CDM as fervently as many Irish, okay? Irish is also European, right? The comparison of Mexican Americans is happening with European, European ethnic groups, right? Irish American people embrace St. Patrick's Day, now they are given examples. So in case you don't know what CDM is or SPD is, they are saying that both are major holidays in the countries of origin. So CDM is a major holiday in major festival in Mexico. SPD is a major festival in Ireland. So that's what we know. That definition is given in the bracket itself. With both holidays having been reinvented in the context of the United States and linked to ideas, symbols, and heroes of United States, right? So this is saying that giving the further providing example of what they mean by combining ethnic with contemporary civic symbols. So these people who came from Mexico, who came from Ireland, and who are living in the US, they continue to celebrate their own festivals, but they have adapted or they have modified them they reinvented them in the context of the US, and the ideas and symbols and heroes that associated with that, they have started including the US ones as well in their own native celebrations, right? So that is the passage. It's a little complex passage, but if you like, just take notes, if you see how it flows, if you just don't worry about trying to pronounce hard stuff, then the flow is not that difficult to follow, right? So everybody understood the layout of the passage? Everybody with me? Right? Everybody understood when I told about that, okay, look at these keywords, or so everybody clear? Anybody has any questions? Okay. First question now. Can you read the first question? I'll give you time to do the first question. The main idea means primary purpose. Remember, use process of elimination. Even if one word is wrong, you can eliminate. Can you start by telling me why would you eliminate, like say option A? Can we eliminate option A? If yes, why? Hello, am I audible? Can you hear me? Okay. This is a comparatively easy primary purpose question. Am I audible now? So I said let's just attempt to solve this question. The main idea of primary purpose question, try to solve this using whatever techniques we discussed in the beginning. Do you have any examples? Do we have any options here which talk specifically about the examples? You don't have to like ABC. Just look, hunt for that. Any option talking specifically about the examples. So C and D are talking specifically about the examples, right? So these can be eliminated. Everybody agrees? Everybody okay with eliminating C and D? Now, in this passage, everybody agrees that there are three definitions, two given by sociologists and one given by the author. Yes? Everybody agrees with me that there are three definitions of ethnicity. Two are given by sociologists, which the author does not agree with, and he has his own. So there are three definitions. Yes or no? Are there any options that do not deal with that deal with only one or two of the ones, especially the ones that which are not the author's own? Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hello? Hello, hello, can you hear me? Okay. So is everybody okay with eliminating C and D? Because C and D are talking about specific examples and they cannot be the correct answer. Right. Now let's look at option A. Do you also agree that the passage has actually 3 definitions of ethnicity? 2 are given by the sociologist and the author does not agree with those 2 and he has his own. Everybody agrees with that part? So anything that has to do only with the definitions of the sociologist is going to be wrong? Yes? Remember we talked about that? Let's look at option A. And also remember, one wrong word is enough to eliminate an option. Option A says, in their definitions of nature of ethnicity, sociologists, now it is talking only of sociologists, sociologists have underestimated the power. There is no word called power anywhere, right? Power of the primordial human need to belong. That is not the case at all. The first definition itself is based on that, right? The first definition itself is based on what? It's like it's based on people's essential need for belonging, right? So this is wrong. It is also wrong purely because any answer option that is going to be about the sociologist, because that's something that the author disagrees with. So why would that be the primary purpose? The author did not write the passage to present the sociologist's view. He wrote the passage to present his own view. You started out by talking about the definitions given by sociologists, but his entire 90% of the passage is then about his own definition, right? Option E now, again, it says the 2 definitions of ethnicity that have dominated sociologists, again it has to do with sociologists, are incompatible and should be replaced by an entirely new approach. Did the author say that it should be replaced? It just said that, well, it will be more satisfactory. Did he say that this is too strong an answer option? There is nothing called it should be replaced, right? And by an entirely new approach, is also not, is also not true. It's not necessarily an entirely new approach. Moreover, the tone of option E is very negative, right? It is very negative about the sociologists. But if you read, the author does say that while both of these definitions are useful, his main tone towards the sociologist definition is not negative, not entirely negative. And it just says, well, they are useful, but they don't fully capture, blah, 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 right? So that's why your option E is not the right answer. If you eliminate this, by default, B becomes the correct answer. Now B also has some of the words that we like to see. It's process. While defining his own method, his own definition, he used the word process, right? And he also said that it's more satisfactorily, so best defined as a dynamic process that combines cultural components with shared political and economic interests. So that's that's what the main primary purpose or main idea of the passage is. Everybody understood? Anybody has any questions about why A, C, D and E should not be eliminated? So here, if you follow the method, you don't have to spend so much time reading each option correctly, each option thoroughly. C and D, the moment you see that they are like, they are examples, just throw them out. A and E, the moment you see that it is talking about only the sociologist point of view, which is just about 5% of the passage, you can eliminate them. Okay, everybody understood? Yes, no? Okay. So the primary purpose question usually comes, in the beginning. It is usually either the first question of the passage or the last question. Okay. Now another thing I'm going to tell you is that when you read the question also, look for the location. Which of the following statements about, so we know that the answer is going to be given in the passage. Which of the following statements about the first two definitions of ethnicity discussed in the first paragraph is supported by the passage? Okay, so it's going to be where the answer is going to lie, here. After this, it's not dealing with the it is not going with the two definitions. It is not going, then it comes the author's error. So your answer is here. So it helps, it helps to read before reading the answer options, because all the answer options will start sounding correct, right? So before even reading the answer options, identify the location and please reread. Okay, and when you reread, you can read fast. Two divergent definitions have dominated blah blah blah. The first one emphasizes the primordial unchanging character. So according to this, people have an essential need for belonging that is satisfied by this. Okay, based on shade, ancestry, and culture. Second talks about ethnicity, de-emphasizes. So it's saying that, well, it's going opposite to the first one. Defines ethnic. So the definition is that it defines ethnic groups as interest groups. In this view, ethnicity serves as a way of mobilizing a certain population behind issues relating to its economic position, right? So that's the two theories, right? Now you read. Now can somebody tell me what the correct answer is? Again, go for eliminating. This one is also pretty easy. One word wrong, you can eliminate. Where do you see political? Where is the word political? Where do you see political? The second one emphasizes on economic, yes. Does the first one emphasize on politics? The second one, yes, it focuses on economic aspects. Does the first one focus on politics? It does not. The first one is like people they want to belong. That's it. It has nothing to do with politics. Politics is not culture. Actually, the moment you saw political aspects, that should have been your grounds for elimination. Okay, remember when these type of questions, anything that has not been mentioned in this portion, anything that has not been mentioned on this portion, you can directly eliminate. Okay, so let's look at that. One is supported by sociologists, the other is favored by, which is wrong. Both of these are from sociologists, right? So this is wrong. Everybody agrees why A is wrong. Option B says one emphasizes political aspects. The moment I see political, when I read, I did not see the word political at all. I would actually not even read further. When I reread this portion, I did not come across the word political. So I'm going to eliminate it. One is a result of analysis of the United States populations. Okay, the moment I see this, I will not read further. Because when I reread this portion, there is no mention of United States. In this portion, is there any mention of United States? There is no, right? So based on that, you should eliminate. Option D says, one focuses more on the ancestral components than so did I see the word something to do with ancestral components? Yes, I did. The first has to do with ancestry and culture, right? Ancestral components. And the second is more to do with the economic interest. So this seems to be the correct answer, but I also tried, let's see whether E can be a better one. So let's read E. One focuses more on immigrant groups. The moment I see the immigrant groups, I will eliminate, because in this portion there is no mention of immigrant groups. Where do you see immigrant groups? There is immigrant groups, yes, but where do you see immigrant groups? You see immigrations here, like way below. So whenever the question is asking about a specific part of the passage, please stick to the information given in that part. No, don't complicate things. This is a very easy question. This could have been solved very easily, but don't overthink. Mobilizing, the word mobilizing comes from the word mobility or mobile. That means moving. So when it's a way of mobilizing a certain population behind issues, that means bringing together people and bringing them together to support or to oppose certain issues. That's it. Okay, everybody clear with this question? A lot of you got it wrong, which you should not have. RC is not difficult. Don't make it difficult. Don't overcomplicate things. Treat it like math formula, Actually, GMAT is very scientific. GMAT is a very scientific exam. So don't overcomplicate things. Okay. Now this question, the author of the passage refers to Native American people in the second paragraph. It cannot get easier than this. The question is given in the location also. In order to provide an example of what? Okay. So we know we have go to the second paragraph, and so we read one example of this. Okay. So it is providing an example of something, of this process. So we read, So this process means the answer came somewhere earlier. So only if we read ahead, we'll get the answer. So we'll read. Ethnicity is more satisfactorily conceived of as a process. This process, right? Process in which pre-existing communal bonds and common cultural attributes are adapted for instrumental purposes according to changing life situations. Okay, so this is the process. So he's using the Native American example, example as an example, again as an example of this process, right? Now go to the now tell me what's the correct answer. Okay. Let's go one by one. Okay. The ability of membership in groups based on shared. See, the moment I see shared ancestry and culture, I would eliminate, because where is the shared ancestry and culture? That is like, your first definition. This cannot be the right answer, right? Wrong location. No. Next. How ethnic feelings have both motivated and been strengthened by political activity. Okay. So, if you read, it does talk about a lot of this, that your evoked increased interest in tribal history. So this has to do with ethnic feelings, right? And it also says that the more active in politics. So yes, and those are both politics, and these are all real life situations, So it just shows that they are instrumental purposes, how it has been used to strengthen instrumental purpose. So it seems, but we'll still try to eliminate. How the civil rights movement can help promote solidarity. Now, ethnic solidarity comes here, right? So it has nothing to do, and I would also eliminate, because for among to be there, you guys have no sentence correction. For among to be there should be minimum 3 groups, but we are talking about only one group, that is the Native Americans, right? So it is not talking about 2 more groups, so that's why this is out. Option D is how participation in the political system has helped to improve a group's economic situation. See, the example talked about increased interest in tribal history, blah blah blah. It's talked about more active in politics, but there is no mention of economics. So that's why there is no mention whether the Native Americans' economic situation improved or not. So that's why it's out. Benefits gained from renewed study. No benefit ever comes out of only by studying, right? Of ethnic history, where did they say that the people studied and that they that's benefited them? So that this is enough to eliminate it. Option B is your correct answer. Can you tell me which location? Question is, the passage supports which of the following statements about Mexican American community? So where is the location going to be? Right. So anything that is appearing in this portion, you can directly eliminate. So it is going on till here actually. Okay, let's what are the obvious eliminations? Can you tell me what are the very, very obvious eliminations? In RCs, there are always at least 2 options that are very, very obvious elimination. Yes, option E is very, very obvious elimination. There is, Mexican American community had greater success in mobilizing constituents than did other ethnic groups. There is no comparison. We don't know about this, so this can be eliminated. Any very obvious elimination? Yep. The ethnic solidarity was not for economic change. It's like entire thing was about politics and civil rights. There's no mention of economics at all. What else? What else can you eliminate? Voting rights is there, so you cannot eliminate. Leaders of Mexican American, what did they do? The leaders of Mexican American, they fought for civil rights. Did they work for ethnic history and culture? Right? They don't. One leader is mentioned, and this talked about as a model for in their fight for contemporary civil rights. So this is also out. Answer is either A or D. A, if you read, in the 1960s, the Mexican American community began to incorporate the customs of another ethnic group. This is the problem here. Yes. Is there anything to say that they incorporate stuff from another ethnic group? Yes, they celebrated this thing, blah blah blah. They reinvented in the context of the US, and heroes of the US, but any other, did they use concepts or customs of another ethnic group? They did not. So once you eliminate, D becomes your correct answer. If you read D, in the 1960s, members of Mexican American community were becoming increasingly concerned about the issue of voting rights. Okay, let's read, where do we see voting rights? So we see this, that such emerging issues means they were not there earlier, but people are starting to talk about them. So that answers your questions about, increasingly, concerned. Emerging issues are concerns. Issues and concerns are synonymous, right? So you can replace the word issue with, it's, so they become concerned with the issue of voting rights. Yes, this question is actually becomes easy once you are able to eliminate. Most of the RC questions, you get the correct answer by elimination. A lot of the passages that we will be doing are of higher difficulty level, of course, so you will not find very straightforward answers. But if you use the elimination techniques, if you just throw out stuff based on location or whatever it is, you will be able to come to the correct answer. Anybody has any questions? Are you able to understand the underlying techniques? I'm trying to show you how to read between the lines, how to catch hold on to something that is not mentioned. That's what I'm trying to teach you. I'm not trying to teach you to solve this particular question. Yeah, true. Combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols, not from another ethnic group. Civic means what? Civic means, like to do with the, what is civics? Civics is not ethnic group, right? Okay, anybody, any questions? Everybody getting a little, at least getting a little, getting comfortable? Combine does not mean from another ethnic group. You can combine combine different things. So they are specifically saying that they combined ethnic with civic symbols. They did not say it combined their ethnic symbols with symbols of another ethnic group. Understood, Sairam? Okay. Everybody can still hear me? True. Okay. So if you are not getting these questions right, don't worry about it. You are not going to get these right immediately. But even if you are able to, expedite your process of elimination, even if you are able to comfortably eliminate, 2-3 options, that means your chances of getting the answer correct is increasing, right? This is kind of easy. Just eliminate. Is there any mention of, just eliminate it. This will is very, you can eliminate very easily. Retelling of traditional narratives is not mentioned anywhere. And it is discussed in the passage, so it will be mentioned in the passage. If something is not mentioned in the passage, it will be wrong. And it is this, of course, you cannot read the entire passage, because it has to do with the entire passage, obviously. So you'll kind of have to eliminate directly. Wearing of traditional clothing is not mentioned anywhere. Playing of traditional music is not mentioned anywhere. Celebration of traditional holidays, is it mentioned? Both are major holidays, both holidays. So you have, traditional holidays being mentioned. Preparation of traditional cuisine is not mentioned. So D is your answer. It is a simple one. Okay. Now again a little tough one. But it is also location based. Can you tell me which location, which portion of the passage you will find the answer? Yep. European ethnic groups are mentioned here. Only one place, right? So European ethnic groups, what did they do? They combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols, and there are the examples of all of that, right? So that's what we know about European ethnic groups. So what can you eliminate? Just scan the options. You'll find a lot of clues for elimination. Yes, come on, this is very easy. What's the answer? I have even highlighted some of the keywords for you. Come on. There's only one thing we know about European ethnic groups. Yep. This is the only thing European ethnic groups, that they combined ethnic with contemporary civic symbols. So they go on to give an example of how the Saint Patrick's Day celebration, blah blah blah. So they created cultural traditions that fuse means joined or combined US symbols with those of their countries of origin, right? Done. That's it. A you can eliminate because there's no mention of economic interest or mobilizing constituents. They did not mobilize constituents. The Mexican American did, right? The mobilized constituents is wrong location, out. They conceived of their own ethnicity as being primordial. No, that is like the first definition. This is like totally wrong location, out. They de-emphasize their cultural components. So that is again, the de-emphasizing of cultural component is like a second definition, wrong location. They organize formal community groups designed to promote a renaissance of ethnic history and culture. There is no mention of that, right? C is the correct answer. Everybody agrees that C is the right answer. Anybody has any questions regarding why the others are eliminated? See, by the time you do 2-3 questions, you anyway get to know more and more about the passage, because you will be rereading every time, you know. Okay, new passage. Yep. This is a scientific passage, and scientific passages are kind of difficult to read because there's so many words that are difficult to pronounce. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to read. So I mean, you should not spend more than 2 minutes, you know, to read a passage. So read the passage, make your own, you know, notes, and then I'll talk to you, you know, how to do it, right? So you read, take 2 minutes and read it. No, don't solve the question. Just read the passage first. Because learning how to read the passage is like the key to getting questions correct. Okay. So when you read, it was once believed. The moment you see these words, you know that okay, it is no longer believed, right? It was once believed that the brain was independent of metabolic processes occurring elsewhere in the body, right? In recent studies, however, we means the author. So now we know that this is what the authors do. We have discovered that the production and release in brain neurons of the, now see, read this as NS. No, neurotransmitters, serotonin is like, right? Read it as NS, okay? They are giving the definition of neurotransmitters also, right? Neurotransmitters are compounds that neurons use to transmit signals to other cells. Okay, take care. We know the definition of neurotransmitters, but that's fine. So, serotonin is a type of neurotransmitter. We know that now. So, S, neurotransmitter S depend directly on the food that the body processes, right? Earlier, people used to believe that the activity of the brain and how the metabolic process happens is they're independent, but the recent studies, the authors, they have discovered that there is a direct, they depend directly on how food is processed in the body. Okay, now they are detailing their method, their studies. Our first studies sought, means that was the objective of the first studies, right? Seek, the past tense of seek is sought. Our first study sought to determine whether the increase in S observed in rats given a large injection of the amino acid T might also occur after rats ate meals that change T levels in the blood. So they what they do is that they took some rats, they injected some rats with this amino acid T, and then they compared whether it's the same activity, if they ate also meals that have that change the T levels in the blood, right? So they saw what they tried to see whether the artificial injection and this normal levels, if they can be compared. We found that immediately after the rats began to eat, parallel elevations, elevation means increased, parallel elevations occurred in blood T, brain T, and brain S levels, right? So when they started to eat food, that changed T levels in the blood. So the levels of that, T and S, they increased in blood and brain as well. These findings, which findings? These findings, we found wala portion. These findings suggested that the production and release of S in brain neurons were normally coupled with blood T increase. So what they are saying is, okay, blood T, if blood T increases, then brain, then brain S also increases, right? Blood T and brain S, they are coupled, right? In later studies, now these were the first studies. This was the first study where they proved that when blood T increases, brain S increases. Okay. In later studies, we found that injecting insulin into a rat's bloodstream also caused parallel elevations in blood and brain T levels and in S levels. So, so basically, insulin also increased, brain T and S. So if insulin increases, then brain T and brain S also increase, right? We then decided, now, so this is what their findings. The second finding is that. Second finding has to do with the second type of finding has to do with insulin. The first type of experiment was to do with tryptophan. Second is to amino acid tryptophan. The second is to do with insulin. Then we decided to see whether the secretion of animals' own insulin similarly affected S production. So this time, in the second experiment, they injected insulin. Then they tried to see whether the rat, his own insulin will they similarly affect it. Okay. So now the third experiment's objective is that. So for the third experiment, what did they do? They gave the rats carbohydrate containing meal that we knew would elicit insulin. So they gave him food which had carbohydrate, which they knew will increase the insulin secretion. That means the rats will produce their own insulin, as we had hypothesized. So their hypothesis was that whether the secretion would increase as as we had hypothesized, the blood T level and the concentrations of T and S in the brain increased after the meal. Okay, so that means whatever they wanted to see, that was proved, right? So till now, so they have talked about 3 experiments. Surprisingly, now the surprise is coming. Till now, all these 3 things, all the 3 experiments that they did, it proved that whenever something is increased in the body, the brain T and brain S levels increase. Surprisingly, however, when we added a large amount of protein to the meal, the brain T and S levels fell. So when the rats were fed proteins, once they fed amino acids, once they fed insulin, once they fed carbohydrates that led to insulin secretion. So in all of these 3 experiments, the brain S and T levels increased. But when protein was added to the meal, the brain T and brain S levels decreased, right? Since protein contains T, why should it depress means reduce? Why should it reduce brain T? Now they're wondering, well, protein also contains T, so that means by eating, if somebody eats T, then the brain T level should increase. So now they're also giving the answer. The answer lies in the mechanism that provides blood T to the brain cells. So when you eat something, it first goes to your bloodstream, right? So the answer, the difference, this whatever they found the anomaly, that the answer is that in the mechanism, in which the blood T is transferred to the brain cells. This same mechanism also provides the brain cells with other amino acids found in proteins, such as tyrosine and leucine. So there are 2 types of amino acids. Don't worry about this, okay? The consumption of protein increases blood concentration of other amino acids much more. So the blood, so the proteins have this thing, our T, it has some other T and it has some other L also, right? This is what protein has, Now what they are saying is that when the consumption of protein increases, blood concentrations of these 2, they increase far more rapidly than this the T that we have been talking about, right? The more protein is in a meal, the lower is the ratio of the resulting blood T concentration to the concentration of competing amino acids. So if you eat more protein, then the proportion of our T is reduced, you know, the other two T, I mean the other two amino acids, the small t and the small l, it will be far more, right? And the more slowly is T provided to the brain. Thus, the more protein in a meal, the less S subsequently produced and released. So that is why, you know, when you eat protein, when the, you know, when protein is fed, when more protein is fed, you know, even though the protein has the T, but the mechanism in which T is made available to the brain. So with increase in protein, your brain T and brain S decreases, right? So everybody understood? Scientific passages can be difficult because of all these scientific names that are in it. So you have to find out, you find your own set of, you know, shorthand writing and then make your notes. Okay, everybody clear? Everybody understood the layout of the passage? Okay. So as I said, no, write notes, write shorthand notes. In this line, this is happening, this line, you know, this portion is this, you know. So any question that we get regarding the first experiment will be till here, you know. Anything that the second experiment that we have, you know, would be this portion, right? So this is your second experiment, right? Then the third experiment is here. When they put, you know, when they increase the rat's own insulin. The fourth experiment is the protein part. So the authors, they did 4 experiments based on which they said that the production and release of brain brain neurons, it is directly related to the food that the body processes, and they are using their experiments and blah 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 to refute the one older belief that the brain was independent of metabolic processes. That is the layout of the passage. Okay, right. So the primary purpose question can also come in this form, that which of the following titles best summarizes the contents of the passage. That means if you have to give a title to this passage, what will that be? This is a primary purpose question, but a little higher difficulty level primary purpose question. So what will be your answer? Again, how do you do? Any examples we throw out, right? Which is the answer? This is very clearly the answer, but I will also show you why the other options are wrong. Neurotransmitters, so where neurotransmitters, their crucial function, there is no mention of cellular communication at all. One word is enough to eliminate. Diet and survival. There is no mention of survival. Yes, there is a lot of mention about diet. Food means diet, so there is a lot of mention about food, but nothing to do with survival. The blood supply and the brain, a reciprocal dependence. It is not a reciprocal dependence. The brain is dependent on the blood supply. The blood supply is not dependent on the brain. Amino acids and neurotransmitters. Now see, this is what I told about the examples, right? Tyrosine. Where do you have this tyrosine? This is here. This is one tiny example. In the fourth experiment. So this is not going to be a correct answer. So E is your answer. Okay, everybody clear? Everybody got this one? Okay, let's do this one. According to the passage, so we know that it's going to be in the passage. Read the question carefully. Okay, the speed which portion is in which portion of the passage the answer is going to be in? The speed with which T is provided to the brain cells of a rat varies with. Where do you have anything to do with speed? Which portion? speed actually happens only here. Right? As I said, you know, to read just you have to find the right words. You have to read carefully. Don't skip stuff, you know. Speed has nothing to do with increase or decrease of level. Speed has to do with like fast or slow. So only one portion of the passage we have this thing about something happening more fast or something happen more slowly. So once you identify the location, do read it. Do go back and read that portion. And which is your answer? Very clear. Once you find the location, it's, you know, concentration of leucine, and there's no comparison of this L and T at all. You know, even if you're not able to find the right answer directly, you can eliminate. There's no comparison between these two ever. So this option C is wrong. Brain before a meal, there's no mention of before a meal at all. Same thing, before a meal. There is no comparison of before a meal. Number. There is nowhere in the passage we talk about number of S containing neurons. It's a very obviously a wrong answer. So even if you are not able to get to the correct answer directly, purely by elimination you will get to the correct answer. So how many of you were able to find, see in this question the key was to find the location. How many of you were able to find the correct location based on the word speed? Anybody? So first step, find the correct location. Excuse me. Look for keywords. Read carefully. I can't emphasize enough, you know, on that. Okay. So we like the according to the passage questions. It's going to be in the passage, right? Read the question. Find the location. Tell me for this question, where is the location? According to the passage, when the authors began their first studies, they were aware. So where will you look? Which lines? Come on, tell me. Tell me the location. Yep. It's not in the first para. The author's first studies begin in the second para. They say our first studies. That means the author's first studies. Now read this portion. Not the entire portion. So what's your answer? No. Read the sentence now. What did they want to do with their first? What did they want to prove with their first studies? They sought to determine, you know. Right, the answer is clearly given. Don't overcomplicate things. Okay. Let's eliminate, right? eventually need to design experiments that involve feeding rates high? Obviously not. The concentration of protein was like fourth experiment. When they began high, how would they have known that they would have had to like do it finally, you know? T levels in the blood were difficult. Okay, there is no mention of difficulty in monitoring, right? There is no mention of difficulty in monitoring. S levels increased after rats were fed, you know, so that was the finding. Right, that was the finding, but that's not what they want to do, right? There were many whose production, so this is an overall thing, not necessarily specific to the first studies. Plus, you know, I mean, this is mentioned in the first paragraph, and the entire rest of the paragraph are little tiny bit they are trying to prove. So E is your answer. C can be a trick option, you know. But E is your correct answer. Again, don't make it difficult. Don't overcomplicate things. Okay, again, another type of question we like according to the passage. Tell me the location first. Well, okay, you know, we gave rats, okay, but this is what they're talking about, yes, but why did they give, you know, one reason that the authors gave, why did they give? For that we have to read a little higher up, right? Because they decided to see, you know, so that was their reason behind the third experiment. Now read read this portion from V2 secretion and then try to get the answer. Some of the options are pretty ridiculous ones. You know, in reading comprehension, just to improve your confidence level, first eliminate the like obvious wrong answers. You know, from 5, if you're able to like come down to 3 or 2, you are definitely increasing your chances of, you know, your probability of getting it correct. So even by pure elimination, you know, prevent the rats from contracting diseases. It's like, what, you know, this is like ridiculous. Demonstrate that insulin is the most important substance. Again, it's pretty ridiculous. Compare the effect of carbohydrates with effect of proteins. Did they do that? They didn't, you know. Depress the rats. Okay, they didn't want to do that at all. They didn't even know it's going to happen. For them it was surprise, right? With the fourth experiment, that too. So obviously it was to produce insulin, because they decided to see whether the secretion of the animal's own insulin. So they gave carbohydrate containing meal that we knew would elicit. So the objective was to see to increase the to make the rats produce their own insulin. Okay. Anybody had trouble with this one? My only thing was that you guys were not able to come to the answer fast enough. This was a pretty no-brainer option. You should have been able to solve it like really quickly. Okay. Another according to the passage answer is going to be in the passage, right? So tell me the location first. Yeah, this is a more appropriate location because you get the exact, you know, the more protein, you know, the lower is the ratio. So, you know, this is the more appropriate location. Yes, but you can start off here also, you know, but this is the fifth paragraph is more, you know, this is like 5 paragraph, you know, passage. So it's like, it's a little complicated. The fifth paragraph is more, you know, in sync with that. Okay. Now read carefully and get to the correct answer. I want everybody to get this question correct. This is a very easy one. Eliminate. Which one would you eliminate? Try by elimination. Don't try to find the correct answer, please. Eliminate the wrong ones. First one you should be throwing out is this. Anything that is comparing this T and L is wrong, because T and L are given as example of one thing, right? So this is out of any kind, you know. Yeah, I mean, if you can directly get the right answer, nothing like it. But if you're not able to, then at least you should know how to eliminate. Remember, today we are not trying to get these questions correct. Just let's stay focused, right? Let's learn how to eliminate. Keywords. I'm trying to show you how to eliminate, you know. How to find words, keywords and eliminate. So option C, D and E can be eliminated very easily, right? Ratio of the, so these I already told you, C, D, you know, the number of neurotransmitters of any kind. There's no number, you know, it's a ratio. So anything that did not say ratio should have been out, you know. So D and E, you know, because they are, it should be out, you know. The line says ratio and D and E says number, right? So now you are left with A and B. A says ratio of the rats BT concentration to the amount of S produced and released. So okay, there is nothing like that. There is no mention of S at all, right? I mean B. I mean this as I was saying, you know, so that it is totally BT. And it is compared with the other competing amino acids, means the other two amino acids. So your answer B, option B is the right one. So Arnav, you know, some answers will be very straight, but you should learn how to identify, how to eliminate, what the keywords to identify. Because GMAT, as I told you, is a very, you know, very scientific exam. Once you learn that, you will not face trouble with the accuracy portion of your RC. Your timing may still take a little time to, you know, work on, but at least the accuracy part you will not get wrong. Okay. Again, a direct question. It is even giving you the location. So first start by telling me, don't tell me the correct answer, guys. Tell me what you would eliminate and based on which what. Yeah, why do you eliminate B? Okay. There is no summarizing happening. Good. What else would you eliminate and why? Yes, it's answering a question. It is not summarizing anything. Good. What else would you eliminate and why? Yes, A, further research. There is no mention of further research studies. And yes, E, refute conclusions of a previously mentioned research study. No, it is not refuting. The word refute is enough. All it is doing is that it is an answer. It's an answer to a question. That's it. That's what it is. And option D, controversial. Where is the controversy? Nowhere mentioned, right? Okay, good. On Arnav, you are on track. So C is the answer. You can get answer C correctly or directly also, you know, not a problem, but you should know how to find things that will help you eliminate, you know. You should train your brain to do that irrespective of what question you are solving, you know. Then your accuracy would comfortably stay at a 70 to 80 level, 70 to 80% level. Okay. Yep. Again, good straightforward question. Where is the location? Injection of insulin. Where do you have injection of insulin? Eliminate. What did you eliminate and why? I mean, if you are able to eliminate this, you will eliminate this also. Because you have this, like, you know, so much later in the fourth experiment, right? Protein also same thing. Protein is like, so these three are out. Now blood, it's like nowhere is anybody injecting any blood anywhere. So yes, everybody agrees. Moreover, you know, even if you want to get to the answer directly, if you just read, no, also cause, also means it is carrying forward from something else. So it's carrying forward from the first example. In first example, they gave an injection of T, right? So the injecting T has similar effects with injecting effects as similar results as injecting insulin. So you can come to the answer directly also, but elimination is sometimes, you know, easier, especially with one word options. Okay. Inference question. Remember, inference, you will not, like, you know, you will not get it like mentioned in the passage. You have to kind of, you know, do a little bit of your own thinking and reading between the lines. Inference can also be something that can be location based, which is like makes it easier. So let's see. It can be inferred from the passage that which of the following would be least likely to be a potential source of aid. Aid means help to a patient who was not adequately producing and releasing S. So let's so which will not help at all. We are looking for something that will not help at all. So means there is a patient who is not able to produce S. So there are 4 options which will help that situation and some which will not. So which can you eliminate? So you can eliminate these 2 completely immediately, elimination, because they are found in proteins. You cannot you cannot have meals that will have these, right? So these are out. And if they are low, I mean, even if you don't have to go to the higher level logic also, by the way, How about meals that will elicit insulin secretion? The T level in the brain will increase. And carbohydrates also do the same thing, by the way. So B and C you could have eliminated purely because of B, because of C. If 2 options are saying effectively the same thing, you cannot pick one of them as the correct answer. So B and C are exactly the same effect. They are exactly the same thing. So you can actually eliminate B and C and you are left with A. Right? Seems easy? Now you don't even have to think what will happen if people eat protein, so that it will become anyway more, less will be produced. The person is already suffering from a condition where adequate, production and release is not happening. So it will it will actually make the situation worse. Everybody with me? Okay. Last question of the day, another inference question. Okay, let's eliminate, guys. You should not be taking so much time. Let's eliminate. What would you eliminate? What would you eliminate and why? I see very less participation, guys. If you don't participate, you are not learning. As I told you at the very beginning that we would move at a very fast pace. You'll have to keep up. So do participate. This is supposed to be like a workshop. It's not just me speaking and you listening. Most of you are not participating. So I'm not sure whether it is helping you guys or not, So when we see the question, it can be inferred from the passage that the authors initially held which of the following hypotheses about what would happen when they fed large amounts of proteins to rats. Okay, so protein part is here, so this is the whole protein part. And we have some keywords right here, surprisingly. So the authors found something that they did not expect to find. Okay, surprisingly, when we added large amount of protein, blah, 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 these levels fell. So they were surprised that they fell. Okay. So so let's eliminate. the rats would produce more neurotransmitters other than S. So they didn't expect this, of course. The experiments were not for that. The rats would produce more insulin. No, that was not the expectation. The rats the other T levels would increase less quickly than, no, there's again, whenever you are getting anything that is comparison between tyrosine and leucine, you can eliminate directly because both of them are used as example for one thing. Any comparison between the two, the answer is out. Rats brain T levels would decrease, okay. So, and the other option is rats brain S level would not decrease. How would you pick between these two? The keyword here is surprisingly. The authors were surprised. No, in the first three examples, whenever they were feeding something to whenever the food is increasing, the brain T level, S level, both of them were increasing, right? So that's what they had expected, but they were surprised with the outcome. So this will be the answer. That is, serotonin would not decrease. That was that is their expectation, right? But they say it also. Would decrease. Did they expect it? They did not expect it, right? Okay. So before coming to the fourth example, a fourth experiment, they had done three experiments where when they increased something, insulin or carb, something, when they increased, then the brain's brain's T level and S level both increased. And that, so when they started the fourth experiment also, so it was supposed to be a series of experiments. So they were surprised by the outcome of the fourth experiment. In the fourth experiment, what happened? The brain T levels and S levels fell, right? So when they were surprised by it. That means they did not expect it to fall. If they would have expected it to decrease, then the word surprising would not have been here. So A is your right answer. So when they started with the experiment, their hypothesis was that the level would increase. That was what their expectation was, because in the earlier three experiments, the level was increasing. So that was the expectation. So they were surprised when it fell. So your answer A is correct, not option B. Everybody understood? This is a little tricky, but your keyword here is surprisingly. Just one word is enough. Okay then, so this was the last question for the day. So I hope you learned something interesting or useful.